Welcome to I Am Well podcast. I am your host, Gemma, a nutritionist and mindset coach passionate about all things health and wellness. I'm going to take you on a journey to discovering what health means for you and how to create a life you love living. I'm on a mission to uplift those who feel overwhelmed with what it means to be healthy, reminding you, my listeners, that nutrition is only one aspect of health, and empower you to live your best life on your terms. Let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to I Am Well podcast. Today it is just me. I feel like I have had a few guests on for the last few weeks and it has been fun, informative, amazing. Like I've met new people in the process and creating those connections in this field of work. Like it's so inspiring and it gives such a community feel. Like I'm so grateful for what I do. So I'm so grateful for those who have come on, those guests that have reached out. I have reached out to them. It has been amazing. But today it is just me. And so I thought what I'm going to talk about today is like I am going to talk to you as if I am your nutrition coach. You are working with me and we're going to help try to get your energy levels back. We're going to help try and boost them because I feel like I tried to rack my brain on, one of the most things I get asked about or what most women are kind of wanting to get better within their own health. And a lot of women are saying that it's their energy levels. They want it to be more consistent. They want to have a better understanding of what foods are going to help lift them up, boost them. So that is what I am here for today. And I'm going to give you the lowdown on this. Before we get into it, I just wanted to put out there, Balance, my group program has begun. We have started it now. The day that this podcast comes out, it would be officially day one. So I'm super excited. If you missed out, do not stress. There will be a second intake coming up in September, and that will open in August. So be on the lookout for that. Also, I do have some new ways to work one-on-one with me through one-to-one coaching. So more details to come on that. But if you are keen and kind of already want to get the lowdown, just head on over to my website and you'll see all the information there. New ways to work one-on-one with me. And for those who live in the Gold Coast area, do not forget we have the Recalibrate Wellness Retreat coming up this weekend, which is incredible. So excited because we still have 3 tickets left. So if you are in the Gold Coast area and you're wondering maybe I should come to this, bring a friend, bring someone along, come along to the Recalibrate Wellness Retreat. We would love to have you there. It's such an amazing community, inspiring feeling. Love being together with like-minded women and creating this healthy mindset with each other and boosting each other up. Anyway, that's really all for housekeeping at the moment. Just wanted to let you all know what's going on in the world of my I Am Well business. So today's episode is 5 tips to boost your energy levels. I feel like 5's a good, well-rounded number. So I tried to figure out, okay, 5 tips. What would I give my client if I could only give them 5 tips to boost their energy levels? What would it be? And mind you, when it comes down to it, obviously I need to know your lifestyle. I need to know, what's going on in your world. And I don't just look at aspects of what you're eating. I look at, how stressed are you? How much sleep are you getting? What's your relationships like with the people around you? Are you close to them? Are you far apart? What was your childhood like? I actually look into all of this to give me a better picture on how we can get your energy levels up. I know it's a bit of a huge holistic approach for just a simple nutritionist, but I would be doing a disservice if I just looked at your diet. And so I literally don't like that. I go above and beyond for this. Okay, so number one, obviously we're going to talk about food. With food, I think the best thing to look into for boosting your energy levels and trying to maintain them and get them consistent is looking into the glycemic index. It is super easy to search a food and see what the glycemic index is. You can literally just Google it. Type it in, write what the glycemic index is, and it will tell you. What I found really interesting on this, though, was the topic on sugar. I feel like, there's different things out there on sugars, and some say all sugars are quite the same. They all will spike your blood sugar. Like, sugar is sugar. And that is somewhat a fact, but we also need to remember they all have different glycemic indexes. So the lower the glycemic index, the more consistent energy you'll have. If it's really high, it means that you're going to get an instant burst of energy and then you will crash. So I've got a list here that I found online through my favorite, who I've talked about before, Dr. Mindy Pels, but she's done it all for me, so I didn't have to do this myself. So I just wanted to share that. So at the top of this list is high fructose corn syrup. If you have seen anything that I've posted before, I always am against high fructose corn syrup. It's so toxic for you and your body and your hormones. So please, get into the habit of reading what you're eating, picking up things from the supermarket, turning them around and just reading the ingredients. Don't even worry about the nutrition label. Just read what's in the ingredients. If there's high fructose corn syrup, stay away. This has a high glycemic index of 90. That is really, really high. So this means that when you eat this, you are going to feel an instant burst of energy. You'll just want to run around the room. But 2 hours later, you are going to feel such a crash that you'll wish you didn't have it. So stay away from the high fructose corn syrup. Down the list from that is organic cane sugar. That's at 68. It's crazy to think, you'll see something that says organic and instantly that pops into our mind oh, it's organic. It must be good for us. It must be fresh. But organic cane sugar, let's remember it has a high glycemic index of 68. So that's still going to make you feel like having a full crash 2 hours later. So that is something to keep in mind. I'll just go to the bottom of the list so I can really compare with this. There is the stevia, which is a sweetener, or monk fruit, and they're the plant-based sweeteners. So they have a glycemic index of 0. So it's absolutely 0. So it's not going to make you have an instant burst of energy and then a crash later on. It's going to be very steady. In saying this, there are little information on sweeteners. I'm not saying they're good. I'm not saying they're bad. I've used monk fruit before, and yeah, it's definitely a better option than cane sugar and high fructose corn syrup. And then just above that is agave, that is 10. And then just above that is raw honey. Okay, so those are quite good options. Even in coconut sugar. So coconut sugar's got a score of 35, raw honey's got a score of 30, and dates have a score of 42. So if you're using dates, just be aware that they have a score of 42 on the glycemic index, which isn't bad. It's okay, but as I said, the lower you can get, the better. And then maple syrup's just above that at 55. So I just wanted to kind of bring that to your attention so that you're kind of aware that, okay, the different types of sugars that I include in, say, something that I bake or make, they're actually going to have an effect on my energy levels later on. Or the different types of sweets I have out there are going to affect my energy levels later on. So when you go to the supermarket and, you're craving lollies, I literally found this the other day. I looked at the back of the packet. This packet of lollies for my kids, it had more dietary fiber in there than it did actually have sugars, which is amazing. I've talked about this in my hormone wellness workshop in the last masterclass, that when you do check the nutritional label on the back, it is a good idea to check the dietary fiber, because you always want the dietary fiber to be higher than the sugar. That means you're going to have consistent energy levels and you're going to feel, not that huge crash. So you can do that for yourself. You can look into this glycemic index for yourself and just know that, okay, maybe you do have some cravings, maybe you want some sweet treats. Double check it, see what the score is on Google, and then that way, when you're eating it, 2 hours later, depending on the glycemic index, you're not going to hopefully have a huge crash in your energy levels. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, number 2 is blood sugar levels. I talk about this time and time again. Of course, I am obsessed with looking at blood sugar levels. I have a continuous glucose monitor on at the moment because I'm very intrigued at testing my own. I've talked about this through the hormonal cycle, but I'll mention it quite quickly again, that during the first stage of your cycle, when you're building up estrogen, just after you have had your period, that's when you want to be more insulin sensitive. So you really want to keep your blood sugar levels quite stable in this time, because estrogen doesn't like it when you have huge spikes. So in this time, we want to keep, if you do ever test your blood sugar levels, you want to keep them between 3.9 and 5.5. Now, this is any doctor out there will tell you some doctors out there might tell you that's, very unrealistic. You can't, they're obviously going to spike when you eat things and stuff like that. But it is achievable, and when you can do it, I know for me, my energy levels are so much more consistent. So looking into these blood sugar levels, it's there's research papers on it now in PubMed and stuff like that. It's proven it does keep your energy quite consistent. So looking into this, if you can, getting them tested. If not, you'll pretty much know, especially when you eat something and you feel like when I have coffee, I get really jittery and really anxious, and I have a huge burst of energy. I've just taken a pre-workout. I've got to go for a run or something. And then 2 hours later, I will crash. So I know for sure that coffee spikes my blood sugar levels without even me having to check them. But there are things that you can do with your blood sugar levels to try to keep them more consistent. The more consistent that you keep them, the better you will feel energy-wise. So some tips are, go for a walk straight after you eat. Because once you eat and you've got an instant burst of glucose running through your body wants to use that up as energy. So go for a walk or do some squats, or, do some just 30 squats or some jumping jacks or something like that. I know it sounds silly, but your body is then using up that energy you've just put inside you through your food, rather than you just sitting there and your body not knowing what to do with it, and then it just having a huge crash because you haven't used up the energy and it'll just go and store it, possibly storing it as fat. So then there is another trick that you can do. I first heard about this through a lady called the Glucose Goddess. Her name is Jess, and I can't pronounce her last name, so I'm not even going to try. But you can find her as the Glucose Goddess on Instagram. But she talks a lot about this trick. She even brought out specific supplements that have vinegar in them. So any sort of vinegar, if you just have a tablespoon of vinegar before you eat, it's going to keep your blood sugar levels it'll just won't create a huge spike compared to what it would if you didn't have it, if that makes sense. So your energy levels, once again, will be quite consistent. As I said, she brought out some supplements that do this instead if you're not a person that likes to have vinegar before. But you can check that out on her website. But in saying that, I don't tend to have vinegar on a spoon if I'm going to have it. I'll try and make up like a little side salad, and then I'll pop some balsamic vinegar on that, and I'll eat that, and it's so yum. And that's like my little starter before my main. Sometimes I don't do that all the time. I'm not saying you always have to have a side salad, but just doing that when you can, like even just a reminder to eat the salad first is such a good thing that's going to help keep your energy levels really consistent. And another thing when we're talking about foods to eat before a main that you can do is order something. If you're at a restaurant, order, or if you're at home, make vegetables. Having vegetables before you have your main meal is going to create this like lining so that when you eat the main meal, the carbohydrates, they're got to go through the lining first. And so the blood sugar level spike isn't going to be as huge because it's such a slower hit because it's got to go through that lining. Kind of think of it as if the fiber in your shirt. The fiber in your shirt is the same as the fiber in the vegetables. And if you pour liquid through your shirt, it's going to kind of absorb first and then slowly excrete at the other end. Whereas obviously if you just pour water straight away, it's all just going to pour out, straight onto the ground. That's what's happening with your body. Eat vegetables first. You're creating this lining so that when the carbohydrates go through after, the glucose is released a lot slower. So you're not going to have a huge spike and your energy levels are going to stay more consistent. With the one about walking too, you can also try walking before a meal. That also helps. A last one on blood sugars too. Try adding some fat and protein to each meal if you can. Because that sometimes I know people, they're just starving, so they'll just have a quick sandwich and they'll just have the bread and chuck some peanut butter or something on it, and that will satisfy them because they're getting a quick burst of carbohydrates, and that's what their body's craving when they're hungry. But you've got to remember that 2 hours later, that's what's going to make you feel not as energized. So instead, try having, let's say it is a sandwich, add in some fat and protein to that. Add in like hummus and mayo, like nice vegan mayo, or you can have add some protein like chicken breast, turkey, and that will help also create that slower release rather than just having the bread on its own. Same with like a bowl of rice. Try not to just have like a plain bowl of rice with just protein. Add fat in there too, like avocado or something, because that will also help with that slower release of carbohydrates, and then your energy will feel so much more consistent. Believe me, like I'm not just pulling this out of nowhere. This stuff has been trialed and tested, and so many people, when they've done this stuff, they've said time and time again that they feel amazing. This has also helped like balance hormone levels, helped with PCOS, like insulin resistance, all of this stuff. So I'm not just making it up. It is definitely a thing that is proven time and time again that can help you with your energy levels. Okay, number 3 is sleep. Of course it's sleep. But I kind of wanted to talk about the routine that you have before you go to sleep. So what are you doing before you go to bed? And this is a real eye-opener for some people because I feel like this stuff sounds obvious at first when you hear it. But when you really critique what you're doing and you're realizing, hang on a second, I'm actually doing this stuff that I know, like technically, obviously we shouldn't be doing that, such as going on your device, an hour before bed, or eating just before bed. I don't even know if eating before bed is quite common knowledge to a lot of people, but if you're eating and then you go and hop straight to sleep, your body is still processing that food that you've eaten. So what's going to happen is while you're asleep, your body's trying to digest it. It's trying to store this glucose that you're not using. And it's working on overdrive. So your mind's sleeping, but your body's still working because you've just given it a job to do. You've just eaten before bed, so you've given it a job. So it's on overtime now while your mind rests. So we have to remember that that's what we're doing to our body before we go to bed, and kind of thinking it in that way is, I feel like personally for me, it's kind of like, oh, well, I don't want to do that to my body while I'm sleeping. Like that's not nice, me giving it a task to do while I go to sleep. Then in the morning, what's going to happen is you're going to feel quite exhausted, and maybe you got a solid amount of sleep. Maybe you got a good amount's rest. Or maybe the kids were up during the night, like what happens with me, and you're like, I'm feeling exhausted. Technically, if you eat, within 3 hours before you go to sleep, so eat first, then wait 3 hours, then go to sleep, and you are waking up throughout the night to say kids or something, you should still be feeling quite good in the morning. So if you're not feeling quite energy-wise well, it's probably more so due to what you're doing before you go to bed as to what the quality of sleep is. There's been studies out there that have proven people are able to have high energy levels off 4 hours or 5 hours sleep. So it's all about the quality of sleep rather than the quantity. And it's also all about what your nighttime routine is. So what I'm trying to do for myself at the moment is I'm limiting devices. I love watching an episode on TV before I go to bed. I will 100% admit that. I love doing that, but I know it affects me. So my goal is I watch an episode, but then I have an hour's gap before I go to sleep. And in that hour, I will read my book. Does this happen all the time? No. But I am being so consistent with this as much as I can, because I find I wake up feeling so much better. Like last night, that's exactly what I did. And then I read a book for an hour before I went to sleep. Woke up this morning, and I still got up last night to the kids. Woke up this morning and I was feeling so much better. So this stuff works. It's just trying to be consistent with it. Trying to stay on top of it and knowing what it's doing for you and your body. So, you create that sleep routine. You could do a meditation before you go to bed. You could read a book. Meditating before you sleep is actually so good because your mind is actually in that sleepy state. So your subconscious is kind of listening more. So it means you're going to take in whatever meditation you're doing. So say if you're even saying some affirmations or something within your meditation, your brain's going to hear that a lot more just before you go to sleep. So it's the best time to actually do a meditation. You read a book, that you put on some essential oils in your diffuser. You can have dim lighting. It has been proven to have no lighting whatsoever because that's how we were, back in the hunter-gatherer days, that's how we lived. We slept in complete darkness. So that's what our body is kind of used to. But yeah, if you are going to have lighting, keep it quite dim. And just try to have no devices around you if that's possible. Get a separate alarm clock. Don't have your phone right next to your bed. These things, I know they're quite difficult in the modern age, but they can be done. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to stress. So that is number 4. All of this stuff that we're talking about, it's nothing new. Obviously you're going to hear this and go, yes, that makes sense. But it's something to make you aware of, because we know that obviously stress is going to affect our energy levels. But when are you stressed? Do you even know when you're stressed? Most people don't even know when they're stressed. Manage this by I've got an Apple Watch. I've talked about it before. It's got the Stress Watch app on there. It tests your heart rate variability so you can understand your stress levels throughout the day. That's a really good tip. Try to understand when stress comes in through your hormonal cycle. That's what I've done for me. I know my body can handle stress very well at the beginning of my cycle. But when I get a week before my period and the beginning of my period, I cannot handle stress quite as well. And it makes sense because progesterone, when you're building that up the week before your period, it will shut down and it will prioritize cortisol instead. Whereas estrogen at the start of your menstrual cycle, that's fine. It can handle stress. So create like a calendar in Excel or something. Get a big calendar if you do your own business, or if you just, you've got work, or you're a mum, or whatever it is, whatever you do, add it all into the calendar, but also add in your monthly menstrual cycle. If you're irregular, if you don't have one, like, that's fine. Just add in the emotions that you're feeling each day. Write a sentence, write a word, whatever suits you. And then that way you can have something to look back on. But seeing this in like a big spreadsheet is going to really get you a great picture and understanding of what's going on within your cycle. So manage that stress, book. If you have a steady cycle and you kind of understand when you can and when you can't handle stress, when you're feeling very stressed out on one day and you have a lot to do, see if you are able to bank it and put it for another day for you to work out. Say if you've got a bill that you're just like, oh my God, I need to figure this out, we need to know how to pay it, but you're in that time of your cycle where you just can't control it, make that an appointment for yourself and move it to this specific time where you can handle stress really well. And then that is your day that you will come back to it and sort it out. This is all about creating this lifestyle, managing your life well so that when these emotions pop up, they're not going to be detrimental to your hormones. It's quite, it takes some work, but once you get the handle of it and once you start doing it, you're going to love it because you're going to understand yourself so much better than you ever have. So yes, we talked about in our Recalibrate wellness retreat too, something called like worry journal time. And I love this. Gabby actually came up with this. And she was saying, so when we want to do some journaling, right? Journaling's so beneficial because it just gets your thoughts out onto paper. But, sometimes you're in a state of mind where sometimes you're in a situation where you just can't write it all out in that time. You could be working, what you do is you bank it. You just put it in your notes on your phone and you come back to it for your worry time journaling. So that's a specific time that you will set and you will come back to and you will write it out then when you can handle it, when your body can handle it. I'm going to say when your body can handle it because we know you can handle it. Like we know that's fine, but it's your body, it's your hormones, when your hormones can handle it. Number 5 I'm going to talk about is changing your environment. This one can be quite tricky because it gets us to question the sort of environment that we are in. And sometimes that can be quite confronting. Who do you surround yourself with? Who are the people that are close contacts for you? Are they very supportive? Are they not? What environment are you in just day to day? Like, do you love the location where you live? I'll talk about, for me personally, I loved the people that I lived near, but I didn't love our location, which is why we ended up moving. And it wasn't like it was easy. Like we moved states and it was, I guess, risky. We have 2 kids. We've had to use up some savings, some money in order to do this. So anyone else on the outside looking in would have been like, that's quite a risky move. But I knew that I had this just strong sense that I was like, this is not benefiting my health. So we moved to a location that when I wake up, I feel calm. I feel so grateful for being here. I feel positive. It's crazy on the environment that you put yourself in, how much it can change your outlook. And then this will change your energy levels. It all reflects each other. Like it's just a domino effect. So changing your environment physically, like your actual location, can be quite beneficial if you're living in an area that you just don't love, it doesn't make you feel good. This can be quite beneficial for your health. And yes, it can be quite risky at times, but it all ends up paying off. And I talk about this as like, that domino effect. When you do move and you move into a location that you're loving, that changes your mood, it changes your energy. You then start to attract things in your life because your energy's up. Your hormones start balancing out because your energy's up. Your mindset's better, so everything starts just falling into place. It's amazing that when you actually start looking after yourself, things start happening around you. And I know as a mother myself that I put myself second. I put myself last. I was always like, I don't have time to look after myself. I don't have time to look after my health. I've got to look after everyone else around me. And I know that's what most women go through. But it's not doing anyone a service at the end of the day, because you're not then servicing your kids 100% because you're not 100%. It's all about you've got to fill up their cup from a full cup yourself. You can't fill up theirs if yours is empty. So I went off in a little bit of a tangent there, but environment is key in sustaining those energy levels. So this is, as I said, it's quite a tricky one. I'm not saying this stuff is easy, because it's getting you to confront yourself and look at, are you happy with where you're at right now? And if you're not, then that makes you want to freak out, because then you need to get out of your comfort zone. But that's quite scary to get out of your comfort zone, which is all why I think creating a community is key. So find supportive people around you, find like-minded people around you. If they're not physically around you, go on to, groups online, like go out and join free events or go to free masterclasses or something like that, and where you can start to connect to other people, because this community will then help you feel more encouraged to do what's best for you. You will have that support. Having that support is so key into making these big changes. I never feel like anyone should do this alone. I know this is like quite a different approach, this last one, but I do know that this 100% affects energy levels. For the last 3 years, I lived in a location where I did not love, and I didn't surround myself with negative people, but I didn't surround myself with anyone. I was very isolated. I kept myself quite isolated, and that 100% affect my health, my mental state, and affect my energy levels. So look at your life, do a good, thorough analysis of it. See if you are happy with the environment that you are in and the people that are supporting you around you. Are they there? Are they not supportive? Do that thorough analysis, and that will, I promise you, it just creates such a dramatic change. I am a completely different person to who I was this time last year. And the biggest impact of that is we moved to a location that I absolutely love, and instantly my energy was lifted, my confidence was boosted, and things just then started happening around me. So that's my last little one to you. And I know, as I said, can be quite confronting, but I promise you this stuff works. This stuff truly, truly works. So anyway, just to wrap it up, I will finish off just reminding you of what we've talked about today to help keep your energy levels boosted. So food, I gave you those tips about looking into the glycemic index. Your blood sugar levels, I also gave you some tips that you can do to help make the spike not quite so high, and help keep your energy levels more consistent. Your sleep, start getting into that, creating that nighttime routine. So look into what you're doing now. See what you can, just tweak some things here and there. It doesn't have to be a huge change. Just add something in now and see if it makes a difference. And give it some time, and don't overwhelm yourself. As I said, don't do everything at once. That's just going to create more stress and low energy levels. And then number 4 is stress. So maintaining stress, prioritizing when you're going to stress about things and when you're not. And number 5 is changing your environment, getting those supportive people around you, creating community. And I promise you, your energy levels will start to be quite consistent and you will start to feel 100% better. All of this in play, this is what makes up your lifestyle. All of this is lifestyle. This is not diet that I've talked about. This is lifestyle. So it's all about creating a lifestyle that is going to build you up, keep your energy levels up, and make you feel like you're living your best life. That's what's key here. It's about creating a sustainable lifestyle. And that's what I'm all about. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. If you want to tell me that you listened to this and you loved it, please tell me that, because that'll boost my day, boost my energy levels. Otherwise, you can give it a rating or review. But I will leave it there, and I will talk to you all in the next episode. I hope you all have a lovely week, and just keep on thriving. Bye, guys.